Anyways, I've been meaning to make this video for a long time. So I realized I never explained how I got into spirituality or how I became a witch. I know for everyone there's usually a process, a coming of age kind of, situation. But, for me, a lot of people find me through like oils and spell work or tarot or, something like that. And my journey didn't start that way. It didn't start with me getting into spells and oils and tarot and stuff like that. It started because I was in such a survival state and I was just really wounded, especially dealing with a lot of wounded feminine, wounded masculine in my life. And I really just needed to understand myself and the place in the world around me. And I needed, to put it lightly, I was looking for my save, something to save me. So I started my witchcraft journey around 2012, 2013, something like that. I was in this deeply imbalanced marriage. There was a lot of just negativity and a lot of unfaithfulness would be the right word to put it. I don't want to go too far into detail because, my kids might see this video and it ain't for them to see it like this. So, basically, long story short, Christianity was being weaponized in my household. It was like something that was being held over my head and not in a empowering place. It was more like I'm being an asshole and the Bible says I can be an asshole because blah, blah, blah. And so that was obviously a big turnoff for me. And I just really became resistant to systems that were built on fear and built on control. So I was searching for a spiritual out kind of that made me feel alive. I wanted to kind of understand why whenever I saw these women who were practicing these great, spiritual paths, why they looked and felt so different than I did. And I just realized the further I got into it that these women were operating from a place of autonomy and having their own voice and creating their own ways. And that's just something I was super magnetized towards. I originally stumbled upon Wicca whenever I first got into, hi baby, witchcraft practice and things like that. But Wicca was not for me. Wicca wasn't for me. I know that it's for some people. I'm not here to dismiss your path if that's your path. You are absolutely within your rights and whatever to follow anything that you want. For me, coming from an environment where spirituality felt very heavily controlling and rule-based, I realized that Wicca wasn't something that I was interested in following at that time. There were a lot of, I won't say there's a lot of rules. There are expectations for certain things that I didn't necessarily agree with. And I wasn't really in a place where I wanted someone else telling me I had to do something a certain way. So, that was just a no for me. But I needed something that was more ancestral, intuitive, embodied, personal. Whenever you've been in a relationship that has isolated you from everyone, it really does. You find yourself searching for connections to others. And for me, having an ancestral, heavily rooted spirituality practice was something that was very much what I was looking for. And so I stumbled upon hoodoo and I kind of started searching more into my roots and my genealogy and stuff like that. And I just really needed a path that helped me develop relationship with spirit and myself. I needed to feel like I could trust other people again. And I needed to kind of search for like-minded people to do that. As far as the heritage and the pull towards my ancestors, I was really curious about where I was from. Anyone who maybe didn't have a parent or whatever pull you to the side and say, this is who you are, this is where our people are from, that kind of thing, you probably spent a good portion of your upbringing thinking I wish, you know, maybe you wanted to know more about yourself. I know that this can be a big thing. Sorry, my baby's touching everything. This could be a big thing for people with mixed race backgrounds, because we can feel really like we don't belong anywhere in particular. Like for me, I'm black and white, but my like heritage is on my mom's side, it's majority Welsh, and then Scottish, Irish, German. There's even some Russian in there somewhere. And on my dad's side, there's Nigeria. We're from Nigeria, and the area of Benin and Togo, you know, which happens to be the birthplace of voodoo, I mean. And so, you know, I have this deeply spiritual background, but I had to go through genealogists and like DNA to figure that out. And once I did, I really started digging deep and connecting to who my people were. And that really helped expand my practice. And I know some of them are no longer here, but I feel so connected to myself and to spirit in ways that I can no longer like deny. Like it was a big game changer for me. And growing up mixed, I always felt like I was too black for the white people, too white for the black people. I was never fully accepted into any category by anyone. I was discriminated against by, you know, skin tone. I was discriminated against by my looks, all kinds of things. So, you know, I kind of felt like an outcast for most of my life. And one thing that you'll notice about people who practice witchcraft and stuff, it is like the island of misfit toys. We gravitate towards this craft because it is so welcoming to so many different paths and so many different people. And that was something that was really important. So, like, in my hometown, we are on the Trail of Tears. There's like a place there that hosts powwows and things like that. And you can go and get trinkets and find out, you know, the history of the Trail of Tears and stuff like that. And so it was always kind of in the back of my mind that land holds a very strong memory for a lot of people, and that you can feel emotionally affected by, you know, certain areas and history. And if you are on top of that, someone whose family was enslaved, and you start to learn about that heritage, and, you know, I was looking at pictures of my great-grandparents and my great-great-grandparents, and you could just see like the hardship all over them in these photos. You know how you can just look at someone and tell that they've had a hard life? I just felt so deeply connected to history and to emotional signatures left behind by people who were close to me, or people who lived on land. My name is Sequoia. I was named after the Cherokee native who invented the syllabary, which is the way that, you know, the written language of the Cherokee. Now, I am not Native American. I'm not here to claim that. I just want to clear that up. If you ever see my name or hear me say it, and I say I'm Sequoia, just know that I'm not Native American, and I'm not here to claim that. I do have an appreciation and a reverence for those people, and especially from where my name comes from. I'm very honored to be named after someone who did such a powerful thing for their people. But I just want to kind of clear that up so we're not starting on any kind of, you know, weird ground. I am not Native American, but, you know, hoodoo does have roots of Native American, you know, traditions tied in there because of being a minority group of people. We kind of, you know, convene with other minorities, and, you know, that's how we kind of learned all the practices that we've learned. We incorporated them from, you know, our homeland, and then took on some of everything while we were here, like while our ancestors were here, trying to practice under the cover of the masters. And so it is kind of tied in there, but I am not myself by blood Native American. Now, as far as what I identify as a witch, I would say, I think it's in my title on my socials, that I'm a somatic eclectic practitioner and a hoodoo root worker. And that's because in general, a lot of what I do, because of my history with self-development and my mentorships and things like that, and you know, education, I've learned how important it is to recognize the brain and the body and the roles that they play in our everyday lives, our decision makings, our emotions, things like that. And it's hard to separate that from your practice. Once you have integrated something into you and you understand that it's a working part of you, it's hard to separate it from everything else that you're doing. So I incorporate nervous system regulation into a lot of my spell workings and things like that. I know that self-awareness and self-development is also crucial to building a bigger and better life for yourself. And you know, spells are great and I love them. They can really help provide clarity, and they can help provide you know, it can give you a something to do whenever you feel like you want to be doing something but you're not sure what it is. And I think that is so helpful. But my favorite thing about hoodoo is that it's so resourceful. And if there's anything I have been in my life, it's resourceful. And hoodoo is really about working with what you have. It could be your knowledge. It could be what's on the land. It could be items. It could be items. It could be energy. It could be just all kinds of things. Spit that out. Spit it out. 1 second. Thank you. So for me, I personally practice hoodoo. I practice ancestral work. I do ancestral veneration. I have my ancestor altar over there. I do not show my ancestor altar. I will not be showing it. It's no one's business. So that's not something I personally will be showing on here. Maybe I'll do a mock-up one day. I don't feel comfortable showing my ancestors to a bunch of, you know, strangers. No offense. But yeah, relationship with spirit, everyday life application, things like that. That's something that I really take into account with what I do. I studied so many different things, and it got incorporated into my work. So overall, I consider myself an eclectic practitioner and a hoodoo root worker. And that's kind of my title. Although I can say trying to give yourself a title very early on it can box you in, and it can kind of make you feel like you have to commit to a path that you're not sure about. So I kind of recommend feeling your way through things, and once you know, you will know. Like once you know, got cut off. So what I was trying to say is once you know what kind of witch you are, you just know. I did study formally human services and addiction. I have my certification in addiction studies and human services and things like that. I have gotten trained and certified in Lana life coaching and trauma coping behavior, things like that. So I have incorporated a lot of that into what I do. I don't know. It might be hard for me to go and find a spell and pick apart what goes where, because it's such a part of me now that I just do it. I don't even think about it. I worked in a few mental health facilities, and I just really saw people struggling with reality and struggling with the mental health and self-acceptance and things like that. And I understand how hard life can be. And I understand that whenever you are spiritually bypassing instead of addressing the things that need to be addressed, like your mental health, how detrimental that can be. So I'm very interested in helping people regulate and heal and reconnect to themselves and improve their lives. And, you know, one thing that I will try to be very big on is not spiritually bypassing. At the start of my journey, that was something I was doing. I was in such a place of survival and just trying to get to the next thing that felt better, that I didn't fully want to look at everything that was happening in my life. I was trying to escape it, right? So, you know, spiritual bypassing is kind of something that happens naturally whenever you're not in a place of awareness. And that's something that, you know, I kind of want to help people with, and that's why I do what I do. So where my practice is now is that it's a blend of hoodoo, ancestral reverence, somatic practices, manifestation. I studied a lot of Neville Goddard, law of attraction work. You know, everyone's at this point, I think, has heard of The Secret. But let's see. Abraham Hicks was a big influence on me. The emotional guidance scale was a life changer for me in my work. So I use a lot of manifestation principles, nervous system awareness, self-awareness, herbs and intuition and just my lived experience. A lot of the oils and spells and stuff that I have created are a result of things that I myself have gone through, or things that have been brought to me by my clients, by enough clients. I will say that if I don't personally understand something and I can't emotionally get behind something and put a placement there for me, like I don't create things for that. I choose to work from a space that I have some kind of experience in or knowledge. I'm very much in integrity in that way. I don't do what I don't know. Okay, so if I haven't taken the time out to understand it and study it and things like that, I don't sell it. I don't talk about it. It's not for me. So sometimes I get requests for certain things. It's just not part of my practice. I will say, like, baneful work, like, yes, it is something I know how to do. It is something that I can offer. Every now and then I'll have an opening for baneful work, but I don't really sell it too often. I will say that learning about emotional regulation and stuff, I have learned that actually being angry is a step above being depressed. So sometimes having someone be able to do a baneful spell kind of helps move them out of that feeling sorry for themselves kind of space, and then they start to go, well, I'm gonna do something about it, and then they do something about it, and then they realize that actually I don't give a shit anymore. And now they start to care more about themselves. So there is a kind of growth that happens with some people, not all. Some people just like hexing people day and night. They have nothing else to do, no accountability, and I don't really like offering spells for that kind of work. But my practice basically stopped being about trying to fit into a spiritual category or label or something, and I really just created something that felt more like me and that spoke to my spirit. And I really do feel like as long as you are you and you're staying true to yourself, everything else will line up. I don't try really hard to be someone I'm not. And so what you can expect from this channel, some videos related to using certain things that maybe I sell in my shop, because I get a lot of questions on, hi, how do I use this? So I'll probably start using this as a space to, show demos and stuff like that, so that we're getting the most out of anything that, you purchase from me, so you can kind of fully understand how to work with that energy. Some spiritual practices and ideas and theologies and things like that. Emotional healing work. Lana Ray! Energy work. Definitely manifestation, nervous system stuff, ancestral stuff, and just, self-development, spiritual based kind of stuff. I really just kind of go where spirit leads me. It's hard for me to say, well, this week we're going to do this, and next week we're going to talk about this, because, if I don't do that, then what? Am I a liar? I'm just a human being that's kind of going with the seasons of life. And I have a baby. So I have one baby and then 3 other kids. So you'll likely see and hear them. It is just me right now. My husband had a stroke in 2024 in January, like 2 months after our baby was born. So it has not been easy. He's a stage 5 clinger. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much the sum of how I stumbled upon where I am. I looked into my history. I connected with the history of my ancestors. Now, if I would have looked into it and they were practicing stuff that I didn't want to do, I wouldn't do it. I don't do it just because they were connected to it. I do it because I was connected to it through them. Does that make sense? That's how I ended up where I was. So I hope this helped you learn a little bit more about me, and you enjoyed this video, and have a good day.